Good morning. How's it going? We got us some black rock gut truck stop coffee, and it's probably cold by now. Add it to our yesterday's coffee, cool it off some, and get a little decent flavor, maybe, kinda, whatever. You get the rock gut coffee if you let it set and then pour off the top of it. A lot of the yuck is at the bottom. Pro tip, if you're heating up water and making coffee on the campfire, you can actually throw your grounds in the water in a regular pot, let it boil. When you're convinced that it's coffee, take it off the fire and add cold water. Just pour a quick shot of cold water. All the grounds will fall to the bottom, and then you can pour off the top. And I've heard it said that was cowboy coffee. Okay, so I was talking about the Bible with the lady in the store. She's a young Indian girl. I would say right around 20. And she's real cute. Bound to be getting lied to every day. I'm in Wichita, Kansas at the Phillips 66, and it's Baghdad around here. And all the riffraff, they got the fake gambling machines and stuff like that, and they got the kratom and the spice and all that kind of, the somehow legal, horrifically bad for you drugs. I probably need a haircut if I'm going to keep witnessing. Anyway, so I read, and back in the day, so I explained to her that the four Gospels, what that is, and then the Book of Acts, it's a history book. But I had talked to her, and I said the jokes that I was explaining the jokes, because she did not get it at all, except for the be positive. She understood be positive. She got that one right off the bat. So I knew she had intellect, but she had no understanding of the Bible. So in those for instances, it's real good to bring up what is interesting. Like sometimes you want to go science, sometimes you want to go, in this case, science or emotion, right? So I took 3 Bibles in there. Oh, a guy came, and then there was a sideline, and then I walked with him out to the truck, explained to him about 75 hard, and we need to pray for him. Pray for Rando, the 31st. He's a good man, biker kind of guy, looking for transmission fluid for a 93 Chevy. So he's that guy, and his wife died. So he's kind of going through it, and all the hardship that it brings, and the you can tell he's a little bit on the drugs or whatever. Anyway, so I was able to encourage him and send him on his way with a path to redemption and a handful of Bibles. So that was real good. And then I go back in here, and I'm explaining that the epistles, Paul's locked up and he's writing letters back to his congregation. And I read this. I showed her 1 Corinthians 12 and marked it in the Bible. I gave her 3 Bibles so she'd be able to share with people. I was like, here, you and your friends can read this together. If I speak with I showed her 12, which is, the gifts, and I marked that. Then I read this one to her, 13. If I speak with the tongues of men and angels, but I do not have love, I have become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and know all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but I do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all my possessions to feed the poor, and I surrender my body to be burned, but do not have love, it profits me nothing. Love is patient, love is kind, love is not jealous, love does not brag, it is not arrogant. does not act unbecomingly, it does not seek its own, is not provoked, does not take into account a wrong suffered, does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, love believes all things, love hopes all things, love endures all these things. Love never fails, but if there are gifts of prophecy, they will be done away. If there are gifts of languages, they will cease. If there is knowledge, it will be done away. For we know in part and we prophesy in part, but when the perfect comes, the partial will be done away. When I was a child, I used to speak like a child, think like a child, reason like a child. When I became a man, I'd done away with childish things. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I know fully, just as I also have been fully known. But now, faith, hope, and love abide these three. But the greatest of these is love. And the greatest is love. Okay, so I want to point out that as I was reading this right now, not then, right now, actually then too, I some things stuck out to me. It's personal conviction, just a little nudge, a little course correction as I read. And as I read this out loud, I hear myself say it, so my retention goes way off the chart. By reading this to you, trying to help you get out there and witness, save these people from going to hell. That's my intent. That's my motivation. That's what I'm doing. But I am getting course correction as I read this out loud. And I'm saying that I need to stop being so sensitive and so childish. And I should not rejoice in unrighteousness. So even if I see my enemy getting smashed, I should not rejoice in that. It's God's kid that's been tempted, tricked, turned into some kind of whatever, and now he's beyond hope of saving it, short of whatever beating or whatever. A lot of times you see him online, because a lot of our stuff is online. So you'll see somebody, they're getting dragged in the comment section or whatever, you know what I mean, and you laugh about it and stuff. That's I was getting conviction that is unrighteous. And yeah. Okay. Then I showed her Ephesians, and I explained that Ephesus was a big trade town. She's working at the gas station. Indian, not the feather, and so I read part of Ephesians, and I pray that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened, so that you will know what is the hope of his calling, what are the riches of the glory of his inheritance in the saints, and what is the surpassing greatness of his power towards us who believe. About right there, some customers popped up. They were very well dressed. It was a young lady, white girl, probably 19 to 23. And she turned around and it says, hey, it said a woman's name. But the other woman was looking at something, so I just see the back of her head. She's a little bit shorter. I figured, well, that's probably her little sister or something. And then a guy comes up, and I mean, he's dressed for the kind of church that wears a coat, like a business coat or whatever, and not all blacked out. But it looked like they were on their way to a wedding or a church or something like that, or just coming back from an executive meeting or some kind of whatever. Anyway, well, I'm in Kansas, you know what I'm saying? So that'll probably tell you more about how they were, dressed and going about whatever. Anyway, so I she was very excited, and she said something where I can't. I waited for them to do their thing, and I explained to her that there's two awesome prayers in Ephesians, and then in chapter 6, there's the armor of God. So she humored me and was like, "Oh, that's really good." You know what I mean? Like, she knew. Then it turns out the shorter lady was her mom, and the guy was probably her old man. And because they were both about the same age or whatever like that. Could have been brother and sister, but I think it was, anyway, so that family, they're like, "God bless you, man." They're just like blown away. And they walk out, and so I finished reading. And a couple times I asked this lady at the counter, I'm like, "Is this weird? You know what I mean? Like, is this more than you can handle right now?" And she's like, "Oh no." And you could see the curiosity in her face. She's like, "This is amazing." You know what I mean? It just like, dude, it was so good to see somebody catching a glimpse of Jesus. That's the only way I can put it, a glimpse at the Creator, and later after I had read, I did explain to her the first time we talked before I went outside, got the Bibles, and the second time, both times, I did mention something about, there's like the Creator, and then there's like gods or whatever, angels, whatever like that. And then the Bible explains that it's like, what is man that you created him just a little lower than the angels? You know what I mean? But with such great authority in the earth. You know what I mean? So I explained that. So I was like, if you got, some kind of godology where there's a lot of gods or whatever like that, they might be kind of good, they might be kind of bad, but they're actually angels. That's what angels are. And the Creator is over that. And when the Creator took on the form of a man, so he could just show up and be like, "How's it going? You want to have dinner?" You know what I mean? They just chop it up and talk for a while like your buddies, like your dad came to town on a holiday. When the Creator of all decided to do that, he took on the form of a man. And then he done it all through the Bible. But specifically when he came to pay the sin debt and set atonement and make a path for us to, not go to hell. Oh, the first time I had talked to her about bail. Like if you go to jail, somebody's got to pay bail. And I didn't get all the way into the law of atonement. But I used that to explain like Jesus died for us. That's kind of weird. That happened. And if you don't have the understand, I didn't tell her all this, but I'm just between me and you. It sounds crazy if somebody just walked. If I know nothing, somebody walks up and they're like, "Yo, God hates sin, and He'll throw you in a burn pile like a branch off a tree if you sinned," and everybody sinned, but He made a way because His Son came and then got murdered on your behalf. So you don't have to die because God murdered His Son. And fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And you just walk off like that, dude. That is psycho. In modern culture, with zero understanding, if I'm going, I can imagine the reaction that a person would have to that type of witness. Although I didn't actually, get too far off the mark. Context is critical. And, yeah, so I think I do have a new motivation to get in shape, to get rid of this runny nose, because I was in there, so much dust in Kansas. I was in there and it was so, my nose was running, I mean, just like trying to get through this. Anyway, back to the counter where I was talking with the lady. And His power towards us who believe, these are in accordance with the working of His strength, His might, which He brought about in Christ when He raised Him from the dead and seated Him at the right hand of the heavenly places, far above all rule and authority and power and dominion and every name that is named, not only in this age, but also in the one to come. And he put all things in subjection under his feet, and gave him as head over all things to the church, which is his body, the fullness of him who fills all in all. So this is an Indian chick that her dad owns a truck stop. And when I explained to her that the church is above all, it is the embodiment of the Creator. And, you know, I told her about how God's authority is higher than the gods, the whatever. I'm like, you don't have to pray to an elephant to have a baby or whatever. You know, I said, if you got 26 different gods and this one does this and this one does that or whatever, I said, you know, is it real, right or wrong? Take that, set that to the side. Is it super confusing? You know what I mean? And like, the enemy is the father of confusion and lies. So like, there's a strong chance that it's a whole bunch of demons confusing people. That's these false gods. But the Creator, his name, when I pray in his name, I'm talking about authority and position, title. You know, like right now, if you get a fuel delivery, you can sign for the fuel to go in the tank. It's not your store, but you're under the authority of the owners. Man, you can just see it click in her head. It was so great. It was so great. Okay, and then I showed her in 3. I said, here's a prayer for enlightenment. Enlightenment. I did not read this to her, but I did show her and I marked it. I'll read it to you right now. But I showed her this and marked it for her to read on her own, and we'll see. But I wanted her to seek it out. You know what I mean? Like if she'll actually seek it, like this will be a great confirmation. And that's me talking and thinking right now. In the moment. Me marking it and talking, there was too much going on. I was trying to not look like a booger man, like literally snot in my freaking mustache or whatever. For this reason, I bow my knees before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and on earth derives its name, that He would grant you this is my prayer for her right now. God, just help her read this. But God, we're all as a group, pray with me on this deal. If you want to open up to Ephesians chapter 3, verse 14, go ahead and open up to that. Pause the video. No, I ain't gonna go through the whole song. For this reason, I bow my knees before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and on earth derives its name, that He would grant you, according to the riches of His glory, to be strengthened with power through His Spirit in the inner man, so that Christ may dwell in your heart through faith, and that you, being rooted and grounded in love, may be able to comprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and length and height and depth, and to know the love of Christ, which surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled up to all the fullness of God. Now to Him who is able to do far more abundantly Now to Him who is able to do far more abundantly beyond all that we ask or think, according to the power that works within us, to Him be the glory in the church and in Christ Jesus to all generations forever and ever. Amen. Now, to Him who is able to do far more abundantly beyond all that we ask or think, according to the power that works within us. That's very substantial. The one I used to read to everybody 15 years ago, it said God can do far more than we can ask for or imagine. I can only imagine. That's very limiting. That's a very limiting song. It's a good singing song. It'll stick with you. If you want to say the word imagine 27 times, it's pretty good. I've sang it myself, even on camera. However, I can do so much more than imagine. He can do so much more than I could potentially imagine, and that power is living inside of me. If you're not developing that and you're trying to get six-pack abs, I'm sorry, but there's course correction need to be made. And I'm going to go so far as to say, get your six-pack abs. Get them. See what they do for you. Notice that, these other things and yada yada, whatever. Okay? Use that discipline and consistency and enduring to chase love, specifically the love of God. And what you'll find is, you go out here to this gas station, you get you a cup of freaking, I don't even know what this is. I'm about to quit drinking coffee, man, because, I don't like it anyway. Yeah. Not right now, though, because I'm going to drink some. I am on the verge. I feel like it's a drug, and it's evil. Sorry about that. Okay, and then I read her The Armor of God, and then I started to explain the Armor of God. And at that point, I had to go blow my nose. And I came back, I was like, hey, is this? I asked her three times. I was like, you good? And she's like, I think I'm full, because it's a lot, dude. Like, you could tell. Prayers and petitions with supplications. Have you prayed? I'm going to ask you this right now. Have you prayed with travail? I think I need to make another video about travail. So I'm going to stop this one. Go get them. I'll make another.